Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend, where we go behind the scenes and talk to the creators of independent entertainment. I'm Jason Godbey, and with me in the Rabbit Hole studio today, he is the producer of Dementia 13 and the new Catskill Park. He's also the man behind Pipeline Entertainment, Mr. Dan De Filippo. Welcome, Dan.
Hey, Jason. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you for coming back on the show. Now, people, if you're like, why haven't I seen this guy before? We actually did an audio episode with Dan and Caitlin Ronan out at Pipeline. So that's episode 213. If you want to know more about Pipeline and Dan, check that episode out. But he's here today to talk about his new film and a new program they've got going on. So we'll get right into it because we got a lot to talk about.
Great.
All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is the movie.
Yes.
So the movie's called Catskill Park.
That's right, yeah.
And what can you tell us about it? It's is it in the same line as Dementia, or is it completely different? Or tell us about it.
It's very, very different than Dementia 13. It's not a remake of a Coppola film, so it's not particularly as classic as the 1963 version of Dementia 13. It's kind of a first-person thriller, science fiction horror film. The quick pitch, 4 kids go camping. About 20 minutes in, one of them is literally abducted from above by a UFO, and it just becomes kind of a roller coaster ride after that moment. And along the way, a big alien conspiracy is discovered, footage of an alien autopsy. It's a pretty interesting
So
movie.
you got horror, sci-fi,
Yep.
X-Files kind of thing going on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And how many, now, it's called Catskill Park. Did you actually film it in the Catskills?
We filmed it actually in New Hampshire.
In New Hampshire, okay.
Yeah, during the Halloween snowstorm where 36 inches of snow fell overnight on day one.
Wow,
So
man, that's production value right there.
Yeah, it was pretty
if you had to
incredible.
create that snow, that'd be a lot of snow for you to have
Millions
to come
of
up with.
dollars. Millions.
So and did you guys, so you weren't expecting the snow?
It wasn't even in the script.
So did you have to rewrite in order to put it in there?
Yeah, day one, once we received the weather reports and I spoke with some of the locals, and they assured me it was going to snow quite a bit. While my director was shooting, I actually wrote in the snow for the sequences leading up to when it started snowing, and it comes across flawlessly in the film.
That's
it's amazing.
great. I mean, you'd be surprised at if you've never done this before, like you'd be surprised at how many times that happens in a movie where some force du jour comes and you have to force majeure. My French is terrible.
Force majeure yes.
happens, and you have to go with it accordingly, because at that point you're already up and running. The film is
There's
going.
no stopping.
Yeah, so and it's not like you can say, "Oh, let's just stop production and get everybody back." And so, who directed the film?
Vlad Yudin, who we worked with previously on Last Day of Summer. That is a movie we did about 7 years ago. Stars Nikki Reed, DJ Qualls. So this is our second film we did with him.
So you guys already had a relationship there, and he's also one of your people, right? That you represent.
No, we don't represent him actually.
Oh, okay.
We just have worked with him. He's a really talented writer-director. And, we work very well together.
And are there any stars in the film, or who can you tell is in the film?
Well, it's a horror film, so we didn't need the A-list, so to speak. But it stars Lauren Francesca, who's a big YouTube influencer. Alexander Sandis, who I've worked with a couple times before. He was in our film Shockwave Dark Side, the 3D movie we did. Gregory Lay, who's been in a ton of stuff. Melissa Haley Smith.
These are your 4 leads that are going to encounter this the whole
alien
thing. So have you guys done sci-fi? I know you've done horror before.
Right.
But is this the first sci-fi alien type script that you've done?
Straight alien horror, yes. The Shockwave Dark Side film literally takes place on the moon in the future. So I would say it's our second science fiction film, but it's very, very different from that movie as well.
It sounds very cool. The one thing that I've noticed, and you guys are doing it, and people like Blumhouse are doing it, all of these scrappy little horror films are coming up, and they're making bank. There's a great market for them. One thing I didn't ask you before, but I think it's a good question. Is like and I asked Richard LeMay when he was here about
Right.
like sort of what makes a good horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? What are the elements that you think that in terms of when you put a movie together? Because as a producer, you're kind of omniscient. You're overseeing all the different departments. You're seeing
Right.
the overall production. But what are the elements that you feel need to come together to make a good script like this, where you have horror and sci-fi and stuff like that? I don't know, if you had special effects and all that kind of stuff.
We do. We have quite. I mean, we had Lauren suspended, 50 feet in the air over the woods. There's quite a bit of visual effects that Wayne Harry Johnson, who we've used tons of times before. He's one of the clients.
And you had and you're kind of like sort of puppet master, getting all these elements to
Of
come
course,
together.
yeah.
What do you, if you were to give future producers out there advice on like producing a movie like this for like either a first or second feature or
Right.
or something that what would you say to them?
Well, I mean, even in the heavy genre space of horror and science fiction, it's all about story. You need an underlying story. I mean, Catskill Park is really, a love story. It's love and loss is kind of the underlying theme.
So
And
it's
then
not
we
just
add
about
the-
monsters and all that
No,
kind of
it's
stuff.
not.
Yeah.
Then we add the aliens in for.
I think that's key. Like Richard said the same thing when he was here. It's like it's about he said he considered a horror movie a drama where stuff got out of hand.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if you're not making a story about people and real characters, I think you're in trouble. Like
Absolutely.
if it becomes about the monsters and the special effects and the strange light from the sky, you don't have much of a movie. That's like a kid with After Effects,
Exactly.
kind of thing.
Exactly.
So how many days did you guys take to make it?
We made Catskill Park in 16 days shooting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're humming like that's.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
And like, is it like a 90-page script or is it was it a fairly short film?
I believe it was a little over 100, maybe
Wow.
102.
So
maybe?
you're cranking out quite a few pages per day, like
Right, but we set it up in New Hampshire where it was kind of like a campus in a sense. Every location, aside from what we filmed in New York, was in a 3-mile radius.
Oh, that's convenient.
Yeah.
So when I think that's one of the things that producers do that can really make a director's life easier or make a production go smoother. It's all about location.
Absolutely.
And just like having stuff so you're not schlepping all over the mountains
Right.
trying to find something or trekking out into the wilderness, which a lot of films like this do.
Right.
They wind up, you spend more time traveling and loading people into vans and getting the craft service truck over there than you actually do shooting.
Exactly, yeah.
Did you guys do a lot of nights on that?
It was almost all nights.
Wow,
Yeah.
that must have been so much fun for everybody involved.
In the snow?
Yeah, nights
Yeah,
in the
it
snow.
was fantastic.
So I guess that would be some of the challenges of making a film like that is that you have nights, you have weather,
Right.
and then you're dealing with both. Now with the special effects, you're dealing with both mechanical and digital effects.
Yeah.
So did you guys have a VFX person on site to
We did.
work with that?
We flew Wayne out from Minnesota for a week, and he kind of prepped everything, and we tried to shoot all the practical while he was there. And then, he had a very good kind of blueprint for what to do once we delivered him the film for, the additional effects that they put in.
I want to see it. I mean, I love I think my favorite horror sci-fi is Alien, the original Alien.
Great movie.
And I think it's like one of the. Richard called it a perfect film, and I'm very.
Yeah.
I think I might agree with him. So anything like that, and a buddy of mine is a huge X-Files fan. So
Right.
I think those are your core audience right there.
1,000%. Yeah. Totally.
Where's the film available now?
It's all over places like iTunes. It's on YouTube Movies, Vudu. It's on 16 different pay-for-streaming platforms now, and then it goes to DVD and Blu-ray in about 2 weeks, and then it goes to broadcast, and then it'll go to the Netflixes of the world and all that jazz. And while that's happening, our foreign sales guys are.
Oh, so
selling
by
it around
the time
world.
this goes up, it'll be everywhere. Like it'll be all over the tube.
Yeah, we did everything except a theatrical, and that's from a total cost perspective. We didn't want to be behind a $1 million theatrical.
Really?
Release
Was
for
it
this.
like, because I keep hearing even for smaller movies that it's worth it to do a theatrical run because you can make some of your money back.
Ish.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely an ish. I mean, our domestic distributor is Entertainment Studios, Motion Pictures, and Freestyle Releasing. It's Byron Allen's new company. And just from talking with them, this is a better way of doing things.
Yeah. Well, I also think it's about where, because I've asked people at film festivals, and I've seen similar type projects where somebody's got a cool little feature that they've done that's a low budget feature or whatever, and I'm like, where do you see this going? Where's the distribution? And a lot of people say, well, we'll do a short theatrical run, and then they're really aiming for streaming or something like that. But it's like, where's the audience? And for you guys, you're probably going to find your audience better than trying to do the hype and the marketing and all that business that you would do
completely.
Yeah.
And it's so much more cost effective. In fact, we just finished up with Twitch LA, which the studio hired for the social media campaign, marketing and such, and they did an amazing job. The trailer, 330,000 views in 3 weeks, 1.4 million reach, just through Facebook and all those different social media platforms.
Which is relatively inexpensive compared to putting TV ads out there or running your trailer in the theater and stuff like that. I feel
a lot less expensive.
Yeah.
And what's nice about Byron's company is he owns, I think, 10 TV stations as well. So the 30-second trailer was running within his world of broadcast television. I mean, they have a really good model.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think for it saddens me in a way because, well, I don't know if I love the theatrical experience now or I just love my memory of the theatrical experience.
Right.
I went to see a movie a little while back, and there was a couple that just did not stop talking through the whole thing. And I was like, you know what? I could be in my living room, with my big screen TV.
Pause it for popcorn.
Yeah,
breaks,
I just but I do kind of miss the theater as a communal space, and there was a great DP. Michael Chapman, who called it, I think I got his name right. He worked on films like Jaws and Taxi Driver, and he said that the movie theater was the church of the 20th century.
I agree.
And now it's like the home theater is becoming the way to reach people, and I wish there was almost a combination of the two, or maybe we get people to behave better. But everybody now, if they're watching it on a big enough TV and they have a good enough sound system, they can still get the experience without the headaches.
And it's less expensive.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah,
theater's expensive.
What's your Netflix membership now? It's like $10 a month or something like that. So you can get all these different movies. And for guys like you for what you're doing, that's probably where your audience lives more. So you could spend all that money and put it in theaters, but would you make that back? And how big a risk is that?
You wouldn't.
You're certain you wouldn't.
Right. Certain.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well, it depends on the spend, obviously.
Right.
But especially for a movie like this, where it's not Star Wars, you don't need to see it on an enormous screen. It's almost better viewed on a flat screen TV with great sound because it's a more intimate experience, and it's that kind of movie. You are the characters in this movie.
So there's a lot of sort of POV, and you're very kind of close to it.
We literally invented a camera.
No, really?
A camera rig to shoot the film.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like a swing bar that comes out this way, and it's always following our lead, and
that's really cool.
Absolutely cool.
Now I really want to see it because I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move on, but that sounds very cool. The movie's called Catskill Park.
That's right.
On a video streaming platform somewhere near you. Well, actually, they're all near you.
They're all near, yeah.
And so I wanted to talk to you. I want to talk to you about upcoming projects, but first, I want to talk to you about OnSet. What's your pitch for OnSet? If you had to, you're a producer, so you're good at pitching. So pitch me and pitch. Look right here and pitch the audience the OnSet experience.
Well, it's kind of a revolutionary model for film school, really, where tuition is actually treated as an investment in the film that we make in year 2, the feature film. So it's essentially going to film school for less than the costs of community college and making your tuition back as an investment.
So you have basically you have about, what is it, like 20 or 30 interns that come in.
Well, not interns, they're actual students.
They're students.
It's a whole program. So our first class will be 30 individuals. And as I said, we, over the course of 2 years, 52 weeks a year, it's not your typical kind of college schedule. There are a number of things going on. We develop a screenplay with each student. First and foremost, you need to at least write one screenplay if you're going to make movies, just to understand that process and how maddening it can be. Another element, guest lectures weekly, and we're talking about Academy Award-winning producers, Emmy Award-winning directors, TV packaging agents from William Morris Endeavor, CAA. A big part of this program is not only the creative, but learning the actual business side of the business.
That's interesting because I find that a lot of kids come out of film school and they know how to work cameras and sound equipment, and they know the basics of, how a set works and stuff like that.
Right.
But the paperwork involved in a movie, and like how to set up an LLC, and how to deal with legal and rights and copyright, and that's all stuff that
even talent deals, back end deals. I mean, there's operating agreements. There's so much that goes into just setting up a film to be successful, and these kids in film school are not learning any of it. And I know from personal experience lecturing at places like SVA, Tisch, all these kids call me after they graduate and they ask to work for free for Pipeline.
Yeah, because
they're $200,000 in debt.
Yeah, because they have no idea how the back office stuff works.
Right.
And it's probably something where people are questioning, what is film school? Should I go to film school?
Right.
And for I think for some people it's great, and I think for some of the big schools, if you're going to NYU, if you're going to USC or somebody like that, you're doing it for the people that you're going to meet there and the context that you're going to get. But in terms of producing films, there's a whole life that you never get introduced to in film school.
Right.
And that's unfortunate. There should be there should be a producer track where they teach you all that stuff. And, I told a young man recently, he's like 18, wants to come to New York and be an actor.
Right.
And I said, he wanted to skip college. I said, don't do that. But I said, take some business courses.
Absolutely.
Learn how to do your taxes. Learn how to do learn how to deal with multiple 1099s. Learn how to, because nobody teaches you that stuff. And then, next thing you know, you're, $8,000 in debt to the IRS and you didn't know what you did.
Exactly.
And films are the same way. I was talking to a producer last night about a film he's working on, and he's like, listen, we've got to follow these protocols because we're dealing with SAG actors. And if we don't have these and SAG comes around, we're screwed. We have to get this stuff in line because you're dealing with these different unions. And the more that you deal with, the more you deal with Teamsters, Producers Union, Directors Union, Writers Guild.
Exactly.
You have to have all this stuff in place. And it's painful. Nobody wants to think about it or do about it. Do anything about it.
Forget about deliverables.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
And distribution
or
and deals and stuff like that. So all of that is just to me, it's a total headache, and I kind of want to. I have the same reaction everybody else does. I want to stick my head in the sand and just hope it goes away, but it never goes away.
It never goes away.
And the longer you delay, the worse it gets.
Oh yeah.
But that's great. I think because this show is all about the practical and teaching people sort of practical life skills that will help them in the industry, and something like that could be very useful. So I think. The fact that you even thought to do this is great. And you guys are benefiting, too, because you're getting young talent and they're working with you. And now, when you say the tuition acts as an investment in the film, like how
Right.
does that work?
It's amazing. So first of all, we're at a third of, as I mentioned, what any huge film school charges. I think it works out to like a little under $500 a week.
Right.
Now, the tuition is a legitimate investment in a film. So
you're,
out
you're,
of the gates,
you're going in there, you're paying a certain amount of money for the
Mhm.
tuition, and then that tuition is actually going toward the film that you're going to make with the students.
that's exactly right.
And then
The feature film.
and that film, yeah, so you're not making a short or something like
No,
that.
because you know what? Know how many NYU short films I've ever seen? None. I don't want to see them, you know?
Right, because when you guys deal with directors, now you represent talent, so
Yeah.
like when you deal with directors, you probably don't even look at folks who haven't done a feature yet, you know?
No, I don't.
So, you know, just having a feature under your belt and going through that experience, but then if the film makes money, can they then make their money back?
That's exactly it.
That's
And I mean,
amazing.
with Pipeline, with the release of Catskill Park, we have a 100% track record of feature films we've produced that have gone on for domestic and international distribution, which is big in this space.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't.
Well, you guys got the right formula. You're able to make films at the right level and
Mhm.
sell them at the right price so that your distribution deal is giving you money back and you can go and
Right.
make the next feature. And you're not killing yourselves by, you know, you're not making $150 million movies.
No.
I think that's the business model. I mean, it seems to really play now in sci-fi and horror
Mhm.
and like real genre pieces.
Yep.
It would be nice if it worked in comedy and dramas a little bit better because the people want to make those films. But
Right.
maybe with streaming, there's more of a platform to see those.
Sure.
But I think it sounds great. I'm going to ask you. We got to wrap up in like
Mhm.
2 minutes here, but is there anything upcoming from Pipeline right now that's going to be out in 2019 that you want to talk about or can tell me about?
Well, we're out with a new project. It's a really fun holiday script. You know, and again, like the blueprint's amazing. Could be made 5 to 30 million. But yeah, we literally just started pitching that around town, Hollywood, New York. So hopefully in a couple of weeks, we'll have some good news on that front. You know.
Fantastic. And then when that comes out, have somebody,
Yeah, absolutely.
either you or the director or somebody come in and we'll talk about it.
You should come down to set, do a interview live on set or something.
We should,
That'd be fun.
I've been, I did a few episodes back. I did a behind the scenes of a commercial with a director called Blake Farber,
Right.
and got some great stuff. I'd love to do more of that and
Yeah.
like be able to show it. That would be very cool.
Like the in process.
Yeah,
you know?
that would be very
It's a
cool.
holiday film, so there's like, it'll look.
Now it's not a
beautiful,
holiday.
you
Is
know?
it a holiday horror film? Like are
No,
people
no,
getting
it's
axed in this
called
movie?
it's called Playing Santa. A guy comes home and gets roped into playing Santa for his entire neighborhood, door to door, and chaos and comedy ensues.
Okay, so no one.
It's a lot of fun.
Hopefully, no one dies. In
No
this
one dies in that one. No.
No one gets chopped up
And
in the bit.
Santa shows up at the end. It's great.
Fabulous. All right, so I'm going to wrap up here, but before
Sure.
I go, where can people learn more about you and OnSet and all that kind of stuff on the web?
Well, Pipeline Entertainment's pipeline-talent.com, and OnSet is OnSet Film School NYC.com.
Fabulous. All right, so thanks so much for coming.
Yeah,
and,
thanks for having me.
Thank you guys for taking this trip down the rabbit hole. For more episodes of this show, you can always find them on our website, btrp.nyc/podcast. You can also find us on all the major podcast channels, including Anchor, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, etc., etc. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.